It's the internet. You're busy. Let's do this for November 4th, 2022 for the next hour or so. Let me help you sort through the world of gaming on Game Mess Mornings Live with me, Jeff Grubb. Today, it's Hideo Kojima all the way down, baby. But first, please join me in welcoming today's co-host, the Game Mess Mornings. It's Tamoor Hussain. Tam, how are you doing today?
You know, I am tired, but I'm ready to talk about my good friend Hideo Kojima.
Yes, I want to hear all about. Listen, I'm glad that the timing worked out where we have this news. There's like 4 stories about Hideo.
Yeah.
Is it Hideo or Hideo? I think I used to say it Hideo. I think. How do you say it? How do you say it?
It's Hideo.
Hideo. Okay, Hideo.
It's
yes.
Well, it's like the word. I think the pronunciation in Japanese is a little trickier. I think it's Hideo.
Hideo. Okay.
So, but like when Westerners try and say it, they emphasize the Hideo.
Yeah, like video, like Hideo. Yeah. And so Hideo.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Hideo.
I'm glad you're here
Hideo.
because you are such good friends with your buddy Hideo, and we can.
Best friends, some would say.
Some would say.
Not Jeff Keighley, but some.
I don't even know who Jeff Keighley. I mean, does he even really know Jeff Keighley? I think it's all ruse. It's all ruse put on by Jeff Keighley.
Imagine years from now, it's revealed that Hideo Kojima is Jeff Keighley.
Yes, I mean, at a certain point,
is it a work or a shoot?
that would be a work. That would be a work.
As a
yes.
work, okay.
And then when he reveals like that he's been Jeff Keighley the whole time, that would be the shoot. It's like now I'm going to shoot straight with you. So here's your shoot. You've worked yourself into a shoot, brother. I'm very excited for that moment. We'll get there. We'll get there eventually. But before we do, let's explain what we do here each weekday. I, Jeff Grubb, will help piece your gaming life back together. That includes breaking news and maybe even some of our own original reporting. For all these topics, I'll get the input of a bona fide expert who will make me look smart. If you are watching live on Twitch, welcome. Hello, Twitch. You could always listen to the show later on podcast feeds by searching for Game Mess Mornings or find the RSS on giantbomb.com. You can also catch the show later with chapters and timestamps on YouTube. Hello, YouTube. Okay, we have a lot to get into, so let's start the morning mess with footage of Hideo Kojima's unannounced overdose has seemingly leaked. This comes from Tom Ivan at VGC. The footage, which is being widely circulated on social media, is viewable via a video embedded below. In fact, you know what? It's going to be embedded right here in a second. Let's go ahead and just take a look at this.
It's incredible. This video is
rub button. Here we go. So, I messed it up. Everybody. Hang on.
Oh, God.
Too many snowballs. All right, now let's go to news assets. There we go. It just was giving me the delay. Hey, all right, there we go. We figured it out. I'm going to hit play on this thing. It is...
My favorite thing about this entire video is you can see some
naked
Hanks-looking motherfucker just reflected in this screen.
We will talk about this naked man here in a second. We absolutely will. It is my favorite part too, Tam. Let's try to figure out what this video game is, and then we'll talk about this nude boy just watching a video and recording it off his phone. It appears to feature Margaret Qualley, who's starting Kojima Productions' debut game, Death Stranding. It shows a character using a flashlight to navigate dark corridors from a third-person perspective. The video closes with a jump scare before displaying Game Over, followed by a Hideo Kojima game. I'm going to get it right eventually. And finally, Overdose. Like the Game Over morphs into Overdose. We'll see all that in a second. This is in line with... this is probably that video that... I think it's Tom Henderson or some others were saying leaked a few weeks back, and they're like, "Hey, we saw it, and we posted a story about it, and they got taken down, and Kojima Productions sent us a cease and desist." Well, now here it is everywhere, and I'm looking at this, and I'm like, "Okay, that looks like it's probably what it is." Now I'm just struggling to understand what is exactly happening here. Obviously, it's a scary game. Lady in a dilapidated hospital, maybe holding a flashlight, looks very scary. There's a video,
some sort of hill, maybe.
Yes, some sort of hill.
It's
very
maybe.
Quiet. Yes, a muted hill, I would almost say.
Hill,
yeah,
something like that. Yeah.
There's a video feed of a lady holding, I think, a phone. Or maybe a controller. No, it looks like a phone. And she is looking scared as she apparently is interacting with this, but she's not like controlling it with a controller. And then she taps on the screen. And then she's like saying, like telling the character to like look behind her. And I'm like, is this the person controlling this? What is happening here? How do you actually control this game?
Because I get the feeling it's closer to something. I mean, based on what we're seeing, the only kind of deduction we can make is it's something like a episodic Telltale style game where the
Yeah.
input mechanism is likely a phone or most likely a phone. Dude, man, I swear to God, who is this guy?
It's just, yeah,
Firstly,
Chet, he really does look like Chet Hanks. God damn
this
it.
dude is Chet Hanks. I'm telling you.
It is.
Like,
It's
also,
white boy video game winter right
it
now,
is
everybody.
like this dude is getting tracked down immediately. Like
Yeah, oh, yeah.
they know exactly who this guy
His
is.
identifying tattoo and nipple.
Yeah, he might as well be wearing a name badge holding up his address.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
I mean, we really need to emphasize this for the audio listeners. It is so there's a man pointing a camera or his phone at another phone. I mean, honestly, who knows? Maybe it's a video feed on a TV of the phone. Either way, he's pointing his camera at it, and he's reflecting in it, so we could see him basically sitting up, and he's not wearing a shirt at all, and he's just basically the center of the frame is his nipple and his forearm tattoo, and then his Chet Hanks ass face up there in the corner.
Yeah. Who is this person? But yeah, it looks like a phone is going to be used as the main input mechanism for this game, which I don't know, man. It's one of the gimmicks I dislike the most.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that I don't fair play, but like people don't care about playing video games like this.
Yeah,
I just don't understand. Why do people the thinking where it's like, oh, it's everyone has a phone, so everyone loves to play games. No, I don't know.
Right, and everyone knows how to use their phones, so it's like if you make a game based around those interactions, they'll be able to do it. And I mean, that seems in line with what Kojima's been saying recently. He he's talking about, if this works, it's going to redefine how people think about games and movies. Implying that
phones,
implying that people are going, or the game is going to be some amalgamation of those two mediums. And this definitely, looking at this, it definitely feels like that could be what we're seeing, because it's a movie, and then you're gonna. I mean, it's Dragon Slayer, right? We're just getting it's just a. Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm making leaps there. I'm assuming, but just based on what we see in this video, it feels a lot like Dragon Slayer.
Yeah, it does. Like it will be something that you just have a small amount of input on where you go, where this character is going, etc., and make decision-making moments, and not all that dissimilar from a supermassive game, I imagine, based on what we're seeing here. Which good. I'm excited for. Like, I'll check it out. I'll check it out. I'm there for anything Kojima's trying to pop off with. But
and a scary game is the right genre, right? Like a horror game is the right genre for what he's going for here. If that's the control input, because that is something that does have a wider appeal. And,
yes, 100%.
And so bringing in a more casual audience that would want to control things through their phone, I see it. I see how you end up there. It's just not what I'm looking for from Kojima. And I think it's not probably not going to change the way we think about games and movies going forward. And I'm still confused about whether this is supposed to be the cloud game. Nothing about this screams it would need the cloud. Even if it's streaming from the cloud, whatever. That's not exactly what he was talking about. Again, the naked. Every time I look into this thing, the naked man pops up. We have to get rid of him. I'm sorry. Goodbye, naked man.
He's whoever this person is, whoever owns this phone, is following like Mexican gaming.
Yeah. Yes. It's another the tweets pop up on top on there. Yeah. Mexican gamer or whatever. It's a good leaked video. One of the best, maybe.
We should do like a list of best leaked videos.
I think yes, absolutely. We do a tier list.
That would be because this is pretty high up.
Yeah, it's close. It's A tier at least. I could be talked into S tier for it. Either way, I mean, Kojima is in a position where obviously he's got some projects in the works. Do you think this is that cloud project he's working on with Xbox, and we see it soon? Or is this maybe the follow-up thing he was going to do with Death Stranding actors? Because he's got one of the Death Stranding actors in there. You could see maybe Norman Reedus showing up and hearing. Norman Reedus confusing when he said, we're working on the second one, Death Stranding. This could be it. I don't know what to think, honestly, anymore.
Yeah, I don't know if this is the cloud game. It's really weird because Kojima is also very, very self-aware, and he understands what people want from him as a video game designer, director, and developer to a degree. And I think he's savvy enough to know that this is going to come off as something that doesn't quite work for a lot of people. Mm-hmm. So it makes sense that he's got multiple projects in development. Whether this is the Xbox one, I would think that if Xbox was going to the question is, there's two scenarios, right? Like, is Xbox rolling up to Kojima and being like, we want you to make a game, and then Kojima presents this game and they're like, we'll take anything? Or are they like, no, we want a game ass game from you. We don't want like a experiential game from you. Like, I would guess that if Phil is giving him the bag, like I think they would want a game ass game.
I agree.
But also he's tied up with a bunch of other companies. Like I assume he still has some kind of obligations to Sony, to some degree. So I don't know if that prevents him from doing that, but it's a weird spot for him to be in. I would imagine this isn't the game's the Xbox game, but I could be very, very wrong.
Same, right? I could be wrong, but I think I agree. And the big thing for me was hearing about the Xbox negotiations with Kojima early on. It was, hey, we are bringing on Kim Swift because we need someone to help figure out all his crazy ideas. He's got all these crazy ideas for what he wants to do with the cloud, and we don't know if it's possible yet. We need an expert in cloud gaming to come in and see if it's, and you don't need that for, this touchscreen game is streaming from the cloud. That's easy. Yeah. They do that on the Switch. Developers just sort of accidentally like launch a streaming game on the Switch. That stuff's so easy. If that's all it is, they don't need to like hire this expert in the field to come figure out Kojima's ideas. And based on what we see in the video, there's nothing to indicate all of those wild possibilities. And you are showing the game off for the first time. That's probably what you lead with, not with how this is the very accessible horror game that everyone can play because it's touchscreen and it's going to change games and movies.
Here's the thing, Jeff. I'm going to present something to you.
I want to hear it.
Okay. Here's the thing. Every Kojima thing comes with its own conspiracy. Okay.
Yeah.
We had what the hell was his name? Hassan.
Yes, we did. We'll talk about it in a little bit. Actually,
who thankfully has gone away. What if this leak video is constructed by Kojima?
Yeah, I mean,
he's leaked this on purpose.
I desperately want that to be true.
This is a whole thing that he's created in a studio.
I want that to be true because if he is so good at it to put a naked man reflected in the thing, that's what I'm saying. Next level shit. Because I mean, I'm gonna be thinking about that reflection of that man probably the rest of my life. And I want there to be a mind out there that knows how to craft that sort of storytelling.
Yeah, who knows how to manipulate the internet
exactly
that well.
Yes, that is very exciting to me, and I hope that's exactly what's happening here.
All right, we're starting that conspiracy. We're starting that rumor. Everyone, go out and tell everyone that this is a fake.
Yeah, team fake.
This is team fake. We're team fake. This is made by Kojima. This isn't real. Kojima made this to throw us off the track. He's actually making Metal Gear Solid 6. This is a video for Metal Gear Solid.
Let's talk about this next story because he touches on this concept a little bit here where he, let's get to it. Hideo Kojima breaks silence on abandoned conspiracies. This comes from Jordan Midler at VGC. Speaking on his Spotify podcast, Brain Structure, as part of a new episode featuring Jeff Keighley, during which the pair talked about gaming rumors, the Death Stranding director addressed the speculation he was involved with Abandoned, a horror game from developer Blue Box Studios. Users just kept sending me pictures of this Hassan, Kojima told Keighley. They still send me collages and deepfake images, like 20 a day. It's really quite a nuisance. And then he laughed. Aside from a brief teaser, virtually nothing from the game has been shown of Abandoned. Despite repeated delays, a playable prologue, which Hassan claimed will fund the final game, has yet to materialize. And then Kojima went on, when we did that Moby Dick thing, and he was talking to Jeff Keighley, were in on the whole thing, and that was pretty fun. But people should know that I wouldn't do the same thing twice, Kojima said in his podcast. The Moby Dick thing Kojima refers to, and this is no longer Kojima, is to a fake studio that Kojima created before the announcement of Metal Gear Solid 5. Now, I think I think he wouldn't do the fake studio thing again. He wouldn't do, and that's what Hassan felt like, and that's one of the reasons people were like, "Oh, this is just like the Moby Dick thing." What you described, it might be happening with this leaked video, doesn't feel like the same thing. It feels like an amplification. It feels like a sequel to it.
Yeah. I mean, like that whole if you had two brain cells to rub together, it was very clear that the Hassan thing was not related to Kojima at all. It was like amateur hour.
Yes.
It was like everyone getting grifted by a ding dong.
Yes.
And everyone fell for it. And I was just like, you guys are out of your mind.
I was on vacation when it first was going. While I remember, it's like normally I can't place myself when stuff is happening, but I was in Albuquerque. We were going to the balloon festival there, and I was in my hotel, and people were just tweeting at me because this stuff really started popping off even after I said the rumors about him working with Kojima working with Xbox. And so there's a lot of people like, see, we told you he's working on something abandoned. It's with PlayStation. And I'm like looking at this, I'm like, how no one really believes this. And then of course, 24 hours later, everyone had these theories, and there was a subreddit, and people made their entire YouTube channels about breaking down the code. And I'm like, oh man, you guys just are falling for it so hard. But yeah, like immediately it was
wild.
It didn't pass the sniff test for me at all. And I imagine, not for you as well.
But, yeah. I mean, like, we did an article about him and kind of like just exposing it, and it was just a guy who was just like manipulating people in private, PlayStation parties and that kind of stuff, and stringing people along, and it's okay, cool. But yeah, the fact that he's still getting sent pictures of Hassan and his weird rigged using basic engine assets games is just like hilarious to me. Imagine being Hideo Kojima making all these games and then just having the most amateurish shit sent to you and being like, this is you, isn't it? It's like, what? I made Metal Gear Solid. Why are you sending me this?
I mean, even like Death Stranding was like they're of not cheap but inexpensive project, and even that looks incredible compared to what you're
imagine being like that dude and being sent images of just the shittest crap and being like, "Is this your game?" Like, I thought you knew me. I thought you guys liked me. What's going on?
At the time, getting caught up in the hype, whatever. But still, today to still be doing that after it's so obvious that Hassan's just someone who paid Sony $20,000 to get a blog post and has been running on that energy ever since. You guys got to get over that. Kojima went on to say, I have never spoken with Hassan. This game is yet to be released. I don't think there's much he can do or say at this point, but if he releases the game, people might understand. So maybe he should just hurry up and release it.
Yeah, maybe.
Kojima, I don't think you're going to have much luck with that. I don't think that thing's ever going to come out. There's just no game there. Hassan hasn't spoken publicly about the game in some time. His tweets are currently protected.
Maybe he's working on it.
He did tweet out after all this, and I didn't include the story separately, but he thanked Kojima for addressing the rumors and saying, thanks for telling people this. And I'm like, oh, Hassan, come on, man.
Did he
He really did, yes. I saw the headline. I guess I didn't see, but like VGC, let's see. Abandoned studio thanks Kojima for addressing conspiracy theories openly. And it's like, oh, baby, you were...
Hey, man, thank you for addressing this shit that I made up and saying that I suck. Thanks, dude.
I mean, even if he didn't necessarily like 100% fabricate it from the beginning, as soon as the fabrication started, he was like, "Oh yeah, that sounds good.
He knew exactly what he was
Let's get
doing,
on that."
Man.
Yep.
He knew exactly what he was doing.
Yep.
It's just like, I love the idea of this guy going, we are all trying to figure out who did this.
Yes.
He's like dressed as a fucking shit Unity engine hot dog. Like.
Just looking around. Yep, that's exactly what happened here. That's kind of unbelievable. All right, let's stay in the Hideo Kojima sphere. He says that the rejected Death Stranding Stadia sequel rumor is unfounded. And stick with me, everybody. But this story, this headline, it's all just kind of a bit off. But just let's get to the end. This comes from George Foster at The Gamer. Hideo Kojima has confirmed that the recent rumors of a Death Stranding sequel that would have been exclusive to Google Stadia but was ultimately rejected by Phil Harrison is unfounded. Last month, a rumor for 9 to 5 Google claimed that Hideo Kojima was pitched a sequel to Death Stranding that would have been exclusive to Stadia. Let's stop there. The 9 to 5 Google story, if you go back and read it, only ever says follow-up, and it seems to be implying a new game from Kojima Productions, not Death Stranding 2. But Kojima does respond to that, and he basically says, those rumors are untrue. He says, I'm trying to see, I have a quote here from him where he talks about actually speaking to Phil Harrison. I've been on good terms with Phil Harrison for a long time, ever since the Metal Gear days when he was in Europe. The rumor that Death Stranding, moreover a sequel, was in the works to be an exclusive title for Google is unfounded, and Phil rejecting that is impossible. I've never said anything to Phil about wanting to make a sequel to Death Stranding. I don't know who pulled this kind of information from where. And again, that 9 to 5 Google story basically says that there was a follow-up talked to Phil Harrison. It started multiplayer. Kojima changed it to single player, and then because of that, Phil Harrison canned their relationship, at least for that game. And this response here from Kojima doesn't address any of that. I still think the fundamental original 9 to 5 Google story is true. I don't know. What do you think, Tam?
Yeah, I think it was misinterpreted or whatever. Like, follow up is the more accurate word here. I don't think there's no, I just don't see, like, again, sniff test. Why would they make a game called Death Stranding, put it out on initially PlayStation and then other platform, PC, and then decide, you know what, for the sequel for this game, this very expensive game that we've marketed to multiple platforms on consoles, let's put it on Google Stadia, a platform that no one gives a shit about.
And if you look at the copyright on Steam for Death Stranding, it lists who owns it. Sony Interactive Entertainment and Kojima Productions. They co-own this thing, so that would have been kind of a mess to get it on there. But sniff test.
I think
we just know that this is not what was happening.
Yeah, I don't doubt that at some point he was having a discussion with someone at Google Stadia to be like, would you be interested in making another game? Let's not forget, as we just mentioned, he is very interested and is currently making a cloud-based game. So step one in that process is looking around and seeing what cloud-based platforms are available to you. And Google Stadia is literally a Google away. So I think that it's due diligence for them to speak to seniors in Google Stadia to figure out what they got going on and discuss any potential projects and ideas. So I think that definitely happened, and I think that's what kind of spun out into this, hey, we'll follow-up discussion with Google Stadia and Phil Harrison, and then it got interpreted as like Death Stranding 2?
Yeah.
It's like, no, that's not happening.
Yeah, so, I mean, even like George Foster here from the game, or not to call him out, like, he doesn't mention that in this story, but he linked to the original story about the 9 to 5 Google thing, and in there he explains, like, it's a follow-up, not a Death Stranding 2 sequel, even though people are making that mistake, and it's like, I think people just forgot that that's what the story was about, and it just kind of got lost in the process. Oh, yeah, you can have the Skittles gummies, kiddo. Go ahead.
Can I have the Skittles gummies?
I know. Listen, she has them now, so you try getting away from her, she will bite you. I promise.
Oh man.
Enjoy, kiddo.
I've actually heard that there is a Death Stranding sequel, and Kojima has tasked Elton John with doing a version of "I'm Still Standing," but it's "I'm Still Stranding." So
wonderful. I mean, how are you going to scan Elton John? He's wearing all those sparkly things. You put the camera flashes on him. It's just gonna be.
Elton John is unscannable.
He's unscannable. He's unscannable human.
In a video game, because anytime you get him in a mocap, it's just bouncing and it's insane.
That's gonna. So when I'm singing that tonight, I'm still stranding. I have you to blame. I'm gonna text you, Tam, like, you motherfucker. I promise you, it's gonna happen. All right, I think we have one more here. Kojima turned down ridiculously high offers to sell his company, from Eddie McCoo at GameSpot. Hideo Kojima has fielded and rejected multiple offers to sell his studio, Kojima Productions, and has vowed he will probably never change his stance on remaining independent. During the latest episode of his Brain Structure podcast, Kojima said Kojima Productions is an independent studio that has no affiliations whatsoever and is not backed by anyone. Kojima went on to say that he's losing out on a big chunk of change by not selling. Every day I am approached by offers all over the world to buy our studio, he added, as reported by Metro. Some of those offers are ridiculously high prices, but it's not what I want, or it's not that I want money. I want to make what I want to make. That's why I created the studio. So as long as I'm alive, I don't think I will ever accept those offers. And, the reality is that, he could easily take investment and for minority stakes in his company, which would give him the opportunity to, get a lot of money all at once to fund stuff, and he still gets to maintain control and own the company overall. And so with that option still on the table, and I think companies probably still being interested in investing in him, he doesn't have to just sell it outright, and he can continue to avoid this. And this sounds right for him, at least for the foreseeable future, right?
Yeah, 100%. Also, like, he's not in a situation where he needs to worry, or they're not in a situation where they need to worry about, like, despite what you think about Death Stranding, it was a success.
Yes.
Like, on multiple levels. Name one of the biggest being people realize that he can make a game on his own with his own team and do it relatively quickly.
Yeah.
And relatively in budget. That was the big issue that people had.
Yes, it was. Absolutely.
And it was a big issue that was propagated post Konami. Like people were even like people were saying like the problem that Konami had was he would always come in late and be wildly over budget. So the fear around investing in his projects and doing stuff with him was, oh, this guy's gonna sink us because he takes a lot of money and he takes forever and he does the wildest shit. And he came out and put a game out relatively quickly, and didn't seem like Sony was like upset about how much money he used, whatever it may be. He did the smart thing and found an engine and etc. etc. But yeah, so like I right now he's got no reason to think about selling. Like if they had put out a shiter of a game, then there might be some considerations to be made there. But right now, as you said, at the most, like a minority stake seems like a smarter thing. But right now, like he still has to. They still need to pump out at least two bad games before they need to start thinking about that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and I mean, and they have partners that want to work with them, and those partners have big bags ready to hand over. You know, Microsoft and you know, I think in the end that Death Stranding 2 sequel rumor that got started by one of the actors, you know, what's his name, the main actor from the games. That's probably true. So there's another, you know, good partnership with Sony coming. That game probably stands to sell just as much as the original did, if not more, because the estimation, the critical estimation of that game is only improved over time. So it's like that sets it up for a pretty big sequel, I think. So yeah, this studio's well positioned right now where they don't have to struggle, and if they want money, there are partners ready to hand it over, and then potentially investors that could just take a minority stakes. So they're going to be good to go for quite some time. I think by the time he is older and maybe ready to settle down, I could see him selling it off George Lucas style, but that's after a series of games and IP that have really established themselves. And you know, when he's like, I want to maintain my legacy, so I'm going to sell it to I don't know who Kojima would sell it to. Probably Disney also.
I'll buy it off you, mate.
Yeah, there you go. I believe Tam could maintain that legacy. Well done.
I'll do that for you, man. Don't worry about it.
All right, let's get some of the other stories from the end of this week. AMD says RDNA 3 GPUs are RTX 4070 and 4080 competitors, and not competitors with RTX 4090. This comes from Murdad Kiat. Last night, AMD officially announced Radeon RX 7900 XT and the RX 7900 XTX. And this is the new series of RDNA 3 graphics cards. However, the company didn't share any direct performance comparison to RTX's new RTX 4090 GPU, which is NVIDIA's only new generation card on the market right now. The 4080 hasn't come out yet. As reported by PC Gamer after the GPU announcements and during a Q&A session, the Senior Vice President and General Manager of AMD Radeon, Scott Herkelman, addressed the lack of comparison to any NVIDIA GPUs during the show by indicating the 4090 is in a segment of its own. And you can kind of tell that by its price. The 4090 costs $1,600. The 7900 XT is $1,000, so $999, and the 7900 XT is the 7900 XT is $900. This always happens when I talk about graphics cards. We just get our boys sweet and confused. It's okay. I'm gonna pat him on the head here. There we go. Good boy. Good boy. Basically, what's happening here is the NVIDIA put out a card to be like obviously the best, and the competition's like, well, that's just not realistic, and no one really wants us to put out one of those. We're going to put out something for $1,000 instead. And it helps them that those NVIDIA in the 4090s are having power cables that are melting because they're getting so hot. So they can be like, hey, yeah, we're the realistic one that won't burn your house down. So
yeah. I love the idea of them just looking over the fence, just being like, they're crazy over there. You want some normal shit? Come over here.
And that's what it really feels like. This is from Herkelman. What I would say is we're competing at $1,000 and below. I think that the chip was in a segment of its own, and we're really after that $1,000 segment. We don't know what their 4080, 4070 really is, but I would assume it's somewhere in the range in terms of class. But I believe in the performance and what we're offering in terms of price. So we'll see once those cards come out. I intend to talk to both these companies, and maybe we can do some live testing here on Giant Bomb and compare the 4080 and 4070 versus the RTX 70.
I'm glad that they are. I'm glad that there's like a competition between them again, because there was a while where like biases out there. I'm an NVIDIA person. Like I'm a GeForce person. I trust them. I will say I increasingly am incapable of buying their cards because they are like very expensive.
Yes.
But like, I'm glad that there's another company out there that is just being like, let's try and do that, but cheaper. Because for a while, like, Nvidia really ran away with it. Like, they were like, no one was really competing with them. They are, I mean, like, they still very much are at the forefront of graphics technology and are setting the standard, or at least forging the path for everyone to kind of everyone else to walk down. But that's fine. We need companies like that to do the kind of like ridiculous, like outlandish things, so that others behind them look at it and go, maybe we can do that, but cheaper and like not as that hardcore. So I'm glad that this is happening. But while you were mentioning all those statistics, my brain was doing the Zap Brannigan quote where it's like, that's whatever you were talking about for you.
Yep. I mean, absolutely. It's. I mean, the hard part is their stupid naming schemes are just so.
That's the problem. Yeah.
RX 7900 XTX or the RX 7900 XT. Guys, come on. We could do better. We could do better than that.
Just give them animal names again.
Yeah.
Remember when they used to have animal names for a little bit?
Yeah, that was very helpful.
Like the NVIDIA Cheetah versus the RTX Grasshopper. That's what we want.
Yes, give me animal names, zoo names. Okay? Absolutely.
Yeah, or like weird like fantasy creature names. This is the NVIDIA Griffin. All right, sick.
I would love that. I think overall here that I mean, yes, they're competing in a more realistic money frame where it's like, okay, you know, this segment is better than what NVIDIA is doing, but even AMD has raised prices over, like they've never really had these kinds of cards launching at $800, $900, or I'm sorry, $900 or $1,000, except for like the past two generations, like the last generation and now this one. So these companies have found ways to keep making prices go up. And it was like, at the time, I mean, 4 or 5 years ago, and longer now, geez, the RX 480 would come out and be like, man, $200, you're going to get all your 1080p, 60 frames per second gaming. It's honestly, that card's still pretty good for that. And we've come a long way from then, and games haven't necessarily required all this extra power, but these companies are still sort of fighting over that same space, and they kind of need to be appealing to the same most hardcore people that upgrade more frequently. And the way you make that make sense is, well, you can charge those people who are willing to pay more every single time. And I mean, it's worked out. I mean, obviously the pandemic changed a lot of that, but they're keeping a lot of the pricing hikes that they did during the pandemic when it makes less sense now that these cards are much more available.
Wait, so the GeForce and RTX cards are made by NVIDIA. Yes. And the Radeon cards are made by
Advanced Micro Devices, AMD.
AMD is nuts.
Marvel Snap will let you play against friends this year. This comes from Nathan Grace. I should have known. Should have known. Marvel Snap will let you play against friends this year. This comes from Nathan Grayson over at Launcher from the Washington Post. A spokesperson for developer Second Dinner told the Washington Post an update containing a friend-centric battle mode is set to release this calendar year, meaning sometime this month or next. A development roadmap published shortly after the game's release in October includes more details on the feature. Instead of competing in one-off games like in Marvel Snap's ranked mode, battle mode will see 2 players compete in multiple games until one player's pool of 10 health is extinguished. You getting into Marvel Snap at all?
Oh yeah, I'm playing. Look at me. Look at my face.
Listen, I don't want to insult you by assuming, but
I'm a degenerate.
Yeah,
exactly. I will say I'm playing it on 3 different platforms right now. Okay. I mean, like, I'm not as hardcore into it as you and Jan are, without doubt. I think I approached it. I wanted to approach it with a healthy mentality.
Yes,
because
sure.
I've been.
I say that like I know what that means, but I couldn't do that.
I mean, like, go ahead. I play 1 or 2 games a day. That is it. Like, I had one day where I played like 4 or 5 games back to back, and I could feel myself like slipping, and I was like, not like this again. Yeah, I couldn't do it. So I like backed off. So I am playing it, but I'm playing it very slowly. And I'm enjoying it like that. I'm still kind of learning the ropes on it, and I'm not doing smart things. I haven't become obsessed with like collecting shit and, you know, frame breaks and all that, kind of spending money on it. But yeah, I like it a lot, and I think I'm still at that phase where I'm playing a mixture of bots and people. Sometimes I feel like I'm
Yes.
playing a person. Sometimes I feel like I'm playing a bot.
I'm sure you are playing a mixture. Yeah.
I think once I get to like the people only who are like killers, that's when I'll be like, I'm not sure if I'm enjoying this anymore.
People are definitely better than the bots, but I bet you'll go on a win streak. Like, once you get past have you gotten to the part where they show you how to retreat, where they basically tell you should retreat?
No.
Okay, so yeah, you probably aren't playing people every time for sure.
Okay,
but
good.
Once you get past that, once you start playing against people, you can try some of the more complicated mechanics like bluffing with the snap, or and you start unlocking potential to do a move deck or a damage deck, or a destroy deck. Excuse me. That stuff is really fun to mess around with, especially depending on like what the hotspot of the day is. And the hotspot for people who are unaware, it's like, locations will show up more frequently than others if it's the hotspot. And it's like, I can build a deck to deal with that, so I'm more prepared and can sort of subvert what people are expecting. And that stuff is pretty good. I was always wondering, like, okay, if they put a friend mode in here, what would that be like? Because it would be, if we're just playing like one match at a time, this game is a bit too much like poker, where you're playing against the odds. You're not going to be able to, one strategy is not always going to be better than the other strategy. And if you're allowed to like switch up your decks every time, it's just going to be like, okay, we're just kind of throwing ideas at one another. But this mode of having 10 health and playing multiple games over like that course, maybe is it a best out of 10? I'm not sure if that's exactly what I mean, but it sounds like it. That I'm like, okay, that makes a lot of sense to me, because it feels like, okay, over a series, how well are you doing? That sort of can play towards the odds game that they're making this game out to be in the first place, because there is quite a bit of RNG, and I think that's part of the fun and really important for it. But it's the same kind of RNG that poker has, where if you're playing right, making smart moves, and you're feinting and then adjusting to what the player does based on those feints, you have a really good chance of winning a lot. But that you kind of need over time, that is when those strategies actually pay off, not in any one match. So
yeah,
it sounds promising. I'm very into it. I'm looking forward to this. And once it happens,
this is very smart. I think like it's like highlight the fact that they're making all the right decisions right now.
I think
like
so.
Marvel Snap is hitting really, really well. Like they're doing the smart things. They are. The only downside of Marvel Snap currently is the ads are insane. I cannot turn to anywhere without seeing an ad for Marvel Snap, and I'm just like, I'm playing it. Please stop. I wish there was a way to just be like, I'm playing it.
Yes.
All right, leave me alone.
Please get out of my home. I played it already. I swear.
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. All right, let's move on. PS5 exclusive Ghostwire Tokyo is listed for Xbox on a Bethesda office wall. Kind of a big surprise. But let's just take a look at this.
On a Bethesda office wall.
Yeah, let's see here. This is a picture of a wall in Bethesda's offices where they show the game, art from the game, and then they have a little like emblem here that says Ghostwire Tokyo from Tingle Gameworks 2022. And then below there, it lists the platforms: PC, PlayStation 5, and Xbox Series X and S right there. And so, okay, yeah, so they've already listed it there. Of course, this game was coming to Xbox.
Yeah, I don't understand. Like, I thought it was a known thing that this was eventually coming to Xbox.
They've never been allowed to say it, right? Because when PlayStation pays for the co-marketing deal, you're not allowed to say, well, it's coming to Xbox. So that would count as marketing against PlayStation. So that's accounted for in the contract. You would just never be able to say it. But of course, we all knew this. And it's just like, inside their own studio, they're basically saying, yeah, of course that's going to happen. Imagine it's a year-long wait. Like Deathloop did come to Xbox, right? I think it's out on Xbox now, or is that?
Deathloop is out on Xbox, yeah.
Yes, so yeah.
It recently came out.
Right, that was a year after its release, so I think that's the same thing's probably going to happen here. So this is more like a heads up than anything else. Switch sales have only now surpassed the Xbox One in the UK. This comes from Ollie Reynolds at Nintendo Life. We don't need to tell you that Nintendo Switch has proven to be a remarkable success since its launch over 5 years ago. The numbers speak for themselves. As per the last official announcement from Nintendo, global sales for the console have surpassed 111 million. Although Nintendo's going to be doing their earnings report next week, everybody, so we should probably be getting an update on all that. Mm-hmm. Something that's honestly come as a bit of a surprise to us, however, is that the Switch has only just now surpassed Xbox One sales in the UK. This story says they assumed that already happened a long time ago because it's happened in most other places. But according to head of GamesIndustry.biz, Christopher Dring, the Switch has only just managed to overtake Microsoft's shiny blue box.
Blue?
Bulky box. That was just me, like my brain firing off. And yeah, blue. What the hell?
What fucking blue Xbox is out there?
Shiny, bulky box. And yes, the Xbox One VCR. There we go. In trying to explain what happened here or why the Switch is like only now surpassing the Xbox One, Dring wrote on Twitter, lots of theories around that. The years and years of getting games very late, the fact that so many Xbox and PlayStation games are made in the UK, it's a small country, so portable gaming isn't as big, and it's a competitive market with all three main platforms close in sales. Tim, my understanding is that you've spent some time in the UK.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah. Do those theories sound right? I know that like NES was not a big thing in the UK, but that's sort of where my understanding of Nintendo's history in the UK sort of ends. But what do you think happens?
I trust Dring because I've known Dring for many years, and he has more insight into this kind of stuff. He worked at MTV for a really long time. He's a very smart person. I don't know if I would get behind a lot of the theories, and he points out they are theories. They are not real kind of like known quantity.
Yeah, like the hard data backed up.
I don't know if the fact that so many Xbox and PlayStation games being made in the UK has an impact on the amount of interest around buying them. I don't think there's a correlation between that. And also, it's a small country, so portable gaming isn't as big. Doesn't make sense to me as well either.
That's true for Japan too. I mean,
it's true for Japan.
Huge there.
Those two at least don't make sense for me. Switch sales just surpassing the Xbox One in the UK. I don't know. I feel like it's a mixture of the Xbox One did surprisingly okay. I think in our minds, we kind of assign the Xbox One a failure that it is more harsher than it actually was, just because of the tumult that it went through. The Xbox One did pretty well, and keep in mind that it was on sale for a really long time compared to, I guess, the Switch. I don't know what the lifetime is, but I don't think Switch has been available for as long as the Xbox One has just yet. No. And also availability, the Switch is something that has been out for a while, but it's also a product of people. It exists in a time where people weren't going out and buying things. I think the thing about the UK, I would say that it's perhaps speculative, but as someone who worked a lot in retail, I feel like in the UK people are more inclined to go out and go to a store and see something and be like, you know what, I will buy that, instead of being ordering this online or that kind of thing. Because I worked in various major video game retailers, and the amount of people that would walk in just being like, I'm looking for a thing, tell me what I should buy, was alarming even to me. I'd be like, what kind of crazy person are you, man? That's wild to me. So I don't think there's as much of that happening lately. And also I think the tricky thing with the Switch is there's a lot of versions of them. It's confusing and annoying, and I think a lot of people get put off by that. But also a major thing I think about Nintendo in Europe and especially UK, they're a seasonal purchase in a lot of ways. When I was working in retail, the amount of people that would buy a Nintendo product around Christmas compared to all year round was ridiculous. Come Christmas time, come specific holiday periods, there was a marked increase in interest around Nintendo consoles. I think it stems somewhat from the Wii, where people around Christmas, I worked a few Christmases where the Wii was just hot commodity, and I feel like that's now kind of coded into the DNA of spending in the UK, at least, where around Christmas time, people who aren't paying attention on day to day in the gaming industry, they just go, I'll buy a Nintendo thing for the little nerd that I know.
Right.
And I think that might have some impact to it, but I admit that all of those things that I said have as much viability as it's a small country, so portable gaming isn't as big.
Is it as simple as the Xbox plays real FIFA and Switch doesn't?
Very much possible. Yeah, they're like FIFA major games like FIFA, and there's a bunch of other sports games like F1 and various other sports titles just don't exist in a good way on the Switch,
Right.
and or Nintendo consoles. They've never been able to crack it. There was
Right.
one or two FIFA games that were decent on the Wii actually, but like then they're not cracking it. And like culturally, I think that the UK is a little more inclined towards PlayStation and
Right, definitely.
Xbox because of the style of games more than baby games for Nintendo.
Yeah, of course. Yes, those things for little children with the spinny hats.
Yeah, little children.
Propeller hats.
Yeah, fucking. If you
Snot
got
on
a
their
lollipop
face.
at the same time,
Yeah.
grow up.
Speaking of those games, Ghost Trick has been rated in Korea. This comes from My Nintendo
What
News.
a game! What a game!
I've never played it, and I always,
dude, it's
yes,
so good.
I've heard that. That's the reaction I always get from that. So I'm like, oh man, this is maybe a chance to go back to it. And that's maybe what's happening here. Capcom's puzzle adventure game Ghost Trick has just been rated by the Game Rating and Administration Committee of Korea, possibly meaning that we could see a remake of or a remaster of the classic Ghost Trick Phantom Detective. The game launched in 2011 on Nintendo DS and received an average review score of 83 with 60 reviews on Metacritic, with an average user score of 97. Ghost Trick was primarily developed by Shu Takumi, the man behind the beloved Ace Attorney series. Capcom has not mentioned any Ghost Trick related announcements as of yet. Where does this show up? Like, if it's already being rated in Korea, usually that means we hear about it. It gets announced or gets released within about 6 weeks to 2 months. I guess they could put it out. They could put it out in January, but it's like something. It's not something that would show up at the Game Awards, right? Probably not. So where does this show up?
I honestly don't
know. Just like
I
tweet
think
about it. Probably
is it out on
out.
Switch?
No, it's not. I don't think so. Like, it's a DS game, right? So they'd have to do quite a bit of work to make it a single screen game.
It's available on iOS.
Okay. So then they've done that. They've done some of that work.
I think PC. It might be on PC. Let me Google. But I played it on DS originally. But no, maybe not. Yeah, it's definitely on iOS because I downloaded it again. I think on iOS they re-released it like as a free thing, and then you would get like one chapter, and then you had to buy extra chapters. But I think I bought all that shit because I was like, I'm supporting this. It's a really good game.
Right.
It's got a little Pomeranian in it called Missile. Incredible.
Yeah, people like the dog. I know that. That's I definitely know people love Missile.
It's a very good dog.
I want to see it.
But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if this shows up as a Switch remaster. And if possible, like I would love to see it on other consoles. Like, especially if I would love to see it on PC because Steam Deck and all that kind of business. So I hope it shows up soon.
Yes, me too. Because I want to give it a real try, and I'll play it if it's on the Switch. Finally, just a quick review roundup. Mostly, I wanted to see how you, like, after working so hard on the review, Tam, and getting a very well done assessment of the game out, and then seeing the reaction from everyone else. Like, how do you feel? Because I know as a reviewer in the past, it's always like, man, I'm going to put my thing out, and I don't want to be an outlier, but also I just got to say what I really feel, so I'm not going to pay attention to any of that until it comes. But now that's sort of settled, how are you feeling? And of course, you gave it was a 90 out of 100?
9 out of 10.
9 out of 10. Yeah, I don't know why this Darren Bontheus from GameSpot said 90 out of 100 here. I'm like, I thought it was 9 out of 10. IGN gave it a 10 out of 10. Games Radar gave it a 4.5 out of 5. MMORPG gave it a 10 out of 10. VG 24/7 5 out of 5. Game Informer 95 out of 100, and The Gamer gave it a 4 out of 5. So yeah, mostly very high scores. When you get done with that review and you see the reaction, like, what's the feeling from you?
I think, like, you do have times where you play a game and you're like, am I the only one that feels this way? Am I going to be an outlier? It's very weird, but I don't really think about that stuff.
Yes, you have to just like let it go.
You just have to be like, let it go. Yeah. Yes. But I was pretty confident that everyone would be. I was like, if anyone gives this anything less than like a 7 or an 8 at most, like, I'll be very surprised. There was one outlet that gave it a 6 with a scathing review that I read, and I was like, someone's got some sort of axe to grind here. I don't know what's going on, but shout out to them. Do your thing.
It's just it's Balder writing a review.
He's like, you kill me, I do not like this.
Yeah, so do you not like this at all?
Yeah, but yeah, I was excited to see that. Not excited, but like I was relieved to see that a lot of people feel similar to me. It's a like phenomenal game. Like it's a fantastic game. Most of the responses I've been getting are like, "You are wrong. This is a 10 out of 10, not a 9 out of 10." From
For people who've played it and
assholes who
other
have not played the game.
Yes,
I'm just like, you've not touched this game. What are you talking about? Eat my ass from the front. Like, don't come to me talking shit about like it's a 10 out of 10 when you've not played a single second. It's so
frustrating when the 9 out of 10s are what produce the wild reactions, because it's so buddy, weird. Come on, that's a 9 out of 10. It's a gold star. Come on.
Yeah, but like I enjoyed it. Grubb, people are pointing out that we're still looking at.
I mean, who could say what we're still looking at? Who could say?
But yeah, that's the weird thing, and like people are constantly talking to me about. The annoying thing is like here's the thing. I'm gonna moan a bit.
Please, I want to hear
Reviewing games is hard. It's very, very taxing. It's very, very emotionally and physically straining. And I'm not complaining. I love doing it, but like it does have an impact on you, because think about it this way. There's a difference between waking up in a day and going, I'm excited to play God of War. I'm going to play it for 5 hours. I'm going to play it for 2 hours. I'm going to play it for 7 hours. And then I'm going to enjoy that time, and then I'll move on to other things. And there's a difference between that and waking up and knowing I have to play this game. Like, I need to play this game for 10 hours today. And if I don't play 10 hours, I'm falling behind and I might not make the review deadline. Like, there's a massive difference in between those two things, and it is stressful. And then once you've like played a game that is 50 to 60 to 70 hours in the space of 3 days, which is not good, you feel like a empty vessel of a human being. And then you have to coherently take all those thoughts and put them down on a page. And like I have multiple times said, reviewing games is a fool's game. Like, it's foolish.
Yes.
Like, anyone who tells me I want to be a reviewer, I'm like, don't, man. Figure out some way of sitting in front of a microphone and talking about it instead. Because like that's what you want to do. You don't want to write a review. You want to express how you feel.
People want to hear conversations about the things they like. And sometimes they want to hear the things you validate things that they hate. They want that too.
Yeah. But and then like, so we do that. We spend ages doing that, and then you put it out and you're like, I hope people enjoy reading this. People skip most of the time, they skip text.
And all they want to hear,
they look at the score, and then they tell you that you're wrong and you're a dickhead and this and that, and you're like, why do I do this, man? Why do I do this?
And it's all you ever hear from are the people who are really mad. You rarely hear from the people who are like, man, that was a really well written review. It was it was illuminating. You don't hear from those people.
Yeah, exactly. You just don't hear from. So it's like so. Shout out to everyone that wrote a review for this game. First of all, like I can.
It seemed like a monumental undertaking.
It was a lot, yeah. Between that and anyone who writes a review, like I respect massively. And like there's a lot of really well written reviews for these games. Like I read the IGN review. Disclosure: review was written by my friend Simon, and like it's a fantastic review. And the joy for me is reading other people's opinions. Like yesterday, I sat down. I read the IGN review. I read the Game Informer review. Kyle wrote that, who used to work with, and I watched the Skill Up video. I watched the Jake Baldino video, and like. I really, really enjoyed consuming other people's thoughts on it. And that is the true, like, best part of post-review, where you get to talk to your peers and friends about it. And eventually, that's going to, the shitheads are going to die away.
Yes.
And we're going to have people like, the Giant Bomb community talking about God of War once they get their hand on it. And that is what I'm looking forward to the most. It's just like once all the normal people get to talk about it as well, and we get to have a good discussion about why I gave it a 9 and not a 10. I mean, I did that on the GameSpot After Dark podcast yesterday, but like once we get to a situation where everyone's played it and people can be like, hey, I disagree with the fact that you gave it a 9 and not a 10. I do think it, and it's coming from people in this community or wherever that are like, I want to have a genuine conversation about it. That's the most exciting thing.
And the thing is, like, the game will come out, people will play it, and some of the people that have been being weird, or who are weird about the scores, they turn back into normal people because they're just filled with anxiety about waiting for years for this thing that they're going to spend $70 on. They bought a $500 console just to play this thing. Like, that stuff builds up inside of people and makes them crazy. And then once they're actually playing it, a lot of that relief just gets, it gets let off. The steam gets let off the valve, and they could just be normal again. And it's like, I can't wait for that to happen.
The thing that I'm most excited about is I'm glad that God of War is getting its time in the spotlight before it is summarily kicked to the curb by Sonic Frontiers.
Absolutely. Let's
fucking go, lads.
Yeah. All right, we got the poll from yesterday. Let's talk about that. Oh, well, actually, I'm buying a sweater first. Let me get off of there. Is Ubisoft going to release
the sweater now?
Okay, I'm buying the sweater now. Let's see here.
Sweater live.
Add the curve.
Just make sure you don't put any credit card information.
Yeah, I'll go check out. Let's see.
What we got? What are we working with here? Tingle in the Jingle?
Yeah, Tingle in the Jingle. All right, now I'm going to go.
Tingle with a Jingle.
I'm going to go. Let's go away from it while I actually hit the button.
Careful.
Yeah, there we go. Oh, thanks. It popped up in a new window.
There we go.
All right, I'm hitting the pay button right now. That is the wrong address. Let's do this address. There we go. There we go. Come on, load. I'm
an enabler. Yes. I don't know if you know this, but I'm an enabler.
I was getting. Don't worry, I was getting this bad boy, no matter what. Tam, in the meantime, what is happening this weekend? We have some Extra Life stuff. Why don't you tell people about that while I get the polls all set up?
So please tune in for Extra Life. Right now we have Nextlander Extra Life stream happening. Vinny is playing Final Fantasy. So our good friends at Nextlander will be taking the reins for a little while. You can probably see if you're on giantbomb.com, you can see the stream below. And then later today, I believe Jan and Rory are going to be taking the reins. I was with Rory yesterday. We were in the office doing some setup stuff, and we moved furniture. And he was like, I'm going to come in tomorrow early. I'm going to sleep somewhere in the office, and then I'm going to start the stream. And I was like, wow, dude, you're going in. So I think like Jan and Rory are going to pick up from I think it's like 12 tonight, and then go through the night. And then tomorrow morning, Saturday morning, that is when Lucy and I are going to show up. We're going to roll in, bring them some breakfast, and then kind of relieve them a little bit, and then hang out for a little while. And then after that, I believe Lucy and I are going to dip out for a bit, because we're going to go to Day of the Devs, go there, do that, and then come back. And then when we come back, there's going to be a bunch of GameSpot folks rolling through as well. So expect to see a bunch of folks coming through. That means that I don't believe there's going to be a UPF today. We're just going to let the Extra Life stuff rock. We don't want to take the attention away from that. So if you are around, please do donate. If you can donate to the Nextlander crew, please do. If you want to hold on and, donate for the Giant Bomb stuff, that's great. We're hoping to hit our target. I don't know have we mentioned the target stuff?
I don't know.
I don't think so. I'm not going to say anything now and speak out of turn. I'll let Rory do that at the start of their stream. Yes. But we're close to hitting a major milestone. And
it's important to us that we hit it. We take some pride in this, especially really Rory. But we have Rory's back on this. We want to get there too.
Yeah, we want to try and get to this milestone, and we know we can. If the community is anything like previous years, we'll make it. But we just need to make sure that we are talking about it. And Rory did mention it briefly previously. Like, the idea is, I think 2 million is the number accumulated. So if we're able to hit our targets for this year, in total, Giant Bomb will have raised $2 million, which is an incredible number. So that will be amazing. But keep an eye out, basically. Just keep it Giant Bomb for the next few days. Donate if you can. If you can't donate, please spread the word and send it out and be like, hey, it's community stuff. Go to your Discords, go to your friends, and tell them, hey, a bunch of weirdos are streaming here and they want to raise money. They're raising money for kids and help us out.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll talk a little bit more about what's happening with that this weekend. Let's get these polls real quick. Is Ubisoft going to release the next Assassin's Creed on Steam day one? 62% say yes, 38% say no. That would mark a return for Ubisoft to Steam. There was sign that Assassin's Creed Valhalla is coming to Steam after being on Epic and Ubisoft Connect so far. Tam, do you think that's a sign that Ubisoft's returning to Steam?
I think it's only a matter of time before they come back. I don't know if that is the game that they'll do it with, but I think it makes too much sense for them right now. There was a time when I think that you could get away with starting your own thing and benefit from it, but I think that they've probably reached the upper limit of what they can do with just their own platform, and now are like, all right, let's get back on to the biggest PC gaming distribution platforms, so we can ensure that we're not ensure that we are maximizing our gains.
All right, for the poll for Monday, is the leaked overdose footage a planned leak by the mastermind Hideo Kojima? Yes, team fake. No, team real. All right, we'll answer that on Monday, which I will be doing after.
Wait, hold on. Did you already tweet it?
No, I'm about to. Did I do something wrong?
Okay, gotcha. No. I just wanted to check.
Yes, tweeting it right now. Yes, and we'll answer that on Monday. Which there's that. Wonderful. Where on Monday I will be coming off a extra live stream of my own, going from Sunday night at 9 p.m. all the way into Game Mess mornings, and then doing some stuff that afternoon. We'll see how much I can make it through. But also tonight, Dan Reichert's going to be taking over from Nextlander at some point, or kind of after some of our UPS stuff. He keeps saying something about playing Mario Party because it's on Switch now. Mario Party 1 and 2 for N64. And
keep saying it over and over again.
Keep saying it. And listen, I get it. We're raising money. So if the community comes through and raises enough, what I deem to be enough, I will be there. But only if Jason, who's producing the show right now, comes with me. Jason, are we going to do this? Okay. He says up here, if you're not listening to the audio version, he says, Grubb, why? Jason, please, I can't do it alone. I can't do it alone. You got to come with me. I think, I'm going to convince him. I think we're going to make it happen, everybody. So look out for that tonight. I'm looking forward to at least raising the money, at least that. Yeah. So other than that, everyone, thanks so much for hanging out today. Tam, thank you so much for hanging out with me.
Of course, anytime. I love it. And I'm excited to do it again next week, hopefully.
Me too. And yes, Jason says, for the kids, I guess too. We'll do it for the kids. Thanks, everybody. You're the best audience in gaming right now. Even if you're listening to the audio version, just go to giantbomb.com/chat so you can just see who's streaming for Extra Life. Right now, we're going to Nextra Life, Nextra We'll be beaming you all there in a second. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a good one. Take care of yourself, and goodbye.